All right, y'all. Happy Friday, July 17th. It's 6 p.m. my time here in Texas. Welcome back. Welcome to the show. I had a third Zoom call with Corey Brandolini, the CEO of Railtown today. Third time I've talked to him in the last 2 weeks or so, trying to get some questions answered that I have and that folks in my Discord have. And thank you again to Corey for taking the time out of his schedule. It is really tough to get on his schedule, and so I do appreciate that. And so we're going to talk about that and your questions in today's live stream. I'll try and clip some of this and move it over to the video side of the channel as well, because this might go on for an hour tonight, and I'll put a condensed version in the video side. So welcome, happy Friday. Just a couple of housekeeping things if this is your first time here. I hate to keep going over all these, but just in case it's your first time here. Railtown is a pre-revenue AI company. Pre-revenue companies might not be for you. AI companies might not be for you. Either way, it's okay. It doesn't matter to me if you like them or not. I only mention that because it is, look, pre-revenue companies are speculative. We have zero communication yet from management on revenue numbers anticipated, nor do we have any communication about dates. So in my bucket, how I view things, I would rate that as one of the highest risk type investments. I call this, therefore, a speculative trade. Every time you hear me talking about it, you see me putting hashtag speculative, because I have nothing to go on when I talk about this stock with you guys other than analyzing the management team, the product, the investors, the board. All of those are solid. They're in a hot niche, but we have execution risk. We have go-to-market risk. So this might not be for you. And don't think just because I'm talking about it that you need to invest in it. I'm talking to you about a company that I have a small investment in. I believe you should have a diversified portfolio of companies that are making money, have profits, have growing revenue, have positive free cash flow. And then if you have a well-diversified portfolio, then you can mess around with speculative stocks like this. I never recommend putting all of your money into one speculative ticker. I don't talk about short squeeze stocks on this channel either. I hear that a lot. Everything Tony covers is a short squeeze. We've had a long time rule on this channel. If the short interest is reported is under 20%, I don't even want you to ask me, is this a short squeeze stock? No, it is not. If the reported short interest is under 20%, I don't even want to hear about it. I might still report on a company that I'm following, that I'm invested in, and that I'm thinking about investing in, or that other people are covering incorrectly. Just because I'm covering a stock doesn't mean I'm promoting it, doesn't mean I own it, and certainly doesn't mean that I'm covering it because it's a short squeeze. Most of the stocks I cover, to be fair, is because everybody else is giving you guys bullshit information. Some of the stocks I cover, I invest in. I do happen to have a long position in Railtown. You can see, let's get GameStop. I had GameStop on the screen because I saw they had an update after hours today. They converted all their put call pairs to 43 million shares of eBay. So congratulations, Ryan Cohen, and good luck with that. But moving in Railtown, you can see all of my buys here. I did have what I call a toe in the water earlier in the year, but 90% of my purchases in Railtown have been since December, and I am trying to keep my cost basis under 30 cents due to the speculative nature of the trade. It has traded as high as 70 cents or so. And if they go to market, and which I think they will, depending on what the revenue is, I expect the price might get re-rated higher than where we're at. How high, I don't know. I have no price targets for you. I'd be making up. Anyone who's talking about price targets or revenue is literally creating a fictional story. It's okay to dream, to think, to analyze, to have ideas. But just keep in mind, management has not communicated anything. So when people are talking to you about revenue and price targets, they're just making things up. And you can use that information however you'd like. There are some pretty crazy numbers out there. I heard somebody was pushing 240. I'm confused if it was a price target or number of viewers of his channel, though. I don't know. What do you guys think? Anyways, I don't have a price target, and I don't care if you buy or sell the stock. I am long the stock. I'm okay if my position goes to zero. I don't think it'll go to zero, but I have my risk managed in terms of a low entry and a sensible viewpoint on the stock. If something goes wrong, I will immediately exit. If something goes right, well, then we'll analyze that news when it comes out. And I have the position size managed, as you should in a diversified portfolio. Anybody in any ticker, I see this in every ticker, they tell you sell everything and put it in this one magical bean stock. Really bad advice, in my opinion. Not one person with professional experience on Wall Street or a CPA, a CFA, a financial advisor, not one person would ever tell you put all your money in one stock. You might still choose to do it. That's fine. I'm not going to criticize you. But you then become responsible for your choices. No blaming anybody else. No blaming management. No blaming female attorneys. No blaming YouTubers. No blaming the SEC or FINRA. You made the choice to go all in on a pre-revenue stock. I know that's a lot of housekeeping, but I mean, this is literally what we've come down to. Everybody wants to blame somebody else. I want to see you make smart decisions. I want to see you have optimal outcomes. And these are the general rules that I go by in my trades. All right, so Exile Crisis says, I'm a crazy person with a very large single position and a little dabble of Railtown on the side. I mean, if it's a, your single large position, if it's a company with profits, growing revenue, positive free cash flow, that's less risky, right? But there's a lot of retail traders that want to dabble in companies with no revenue, negative net income, negative free cash flow, and then they wonder why they constantly get diluted on, because the company's got to come up with money somewhere or they go bankrupt. So you got to understand the financials of whatever company you're investing in and make sure you're paying attention to that financial statement. If it's negative free cash flow and negative net income, you're going to get diluted on eventually, either through them selling equity or convertible bonds, what have you. Companies are going to take care of themselves. You will be the collateral damage. Doesn't mean don't trade those stocks. I trade many of them in and out. I don't want to be holding a money-losing company for a long time. Railtown, I think, is a little bit different. This is my opinion. Let me see if I can put something up on the screen here for you guys. Let's start off with this. I was talking with the Discord about 3 or 4 days ago. Let me get the right screen on here. About how do you even begin to analyze a pre-revenue company? Well, you would begin like an angel investor would, or a private equity firm. They have very regimented things that they look at. And if you're not looking at these things and you're just creating price targets in your head because that's the price you need to hit in order to make up all your previous losses, well, you're backing into the problem the wrong way. This is one format of several that an angel investment firm or private equity would look at to decide in a startup or a pre-revenue company, what are the risk buckets? And so I have 5 buckets and the associated risk on them. So let's just get this out of the way real quick. You guys always hear me talk about, with Railtown, execution risk or go-to-market risk. because we've already got the first two covered. In my belief, the company has a sound idea. They're in a hot sector of the market. They've identified a problem, and they have a product that addresses that problem. Number two, the technology and feasibility risk. They have prototypes, a minimum viable product. That's already out there. There's people using the product. The quality of the team, I think, is good. If you look at the presentation that I had running in the beginning of this live, if you look at the management team and the advisory board, these are all quality people. This is not some fly-by-night Chinese company. These are people all that have deep roots in technology and in the Canadian AI ecosystem. And now even they got a multi-million-dollar investment from the co-founders of BlackBerry into this company, and one of them joined the advisory board. So I think the quality of the team is there. So the first three buckets, more or less, I'm not too worried about them. We're at number 4, strategic relationships, right? They partnered up with AIP, AI partnership, and then acquired them, over 200 affiliate companies that Railtown now owns through their acquisition of AIP. They partnered with TELUS, one of the biggest telecom technology companies up in Canada. TELUS just built a hyperscaler facility, and they have another 1 or 2 on the way. These strategic relationships don't happen to fly-by-night companies with these level of quality people and entities. We're at the stage, though, where we need to talk about things that I've been talking about with you guys for a year, the go-to-market risk. And we haven't really talked about adoption risk, but since I have it on the slide, just very briefly, go-to-market risk is the thing that everyone is wondering about right now. When the heck are they going to turn on the spigot and get revenue coming in? We don't know. That is the risk. Could be tomorrow. It could be a month from now. It could be 2 quarters from now. That is the risk you take should you choose to invest in this company. It is an unknown. Now, if you are an angel investor or a private equity firm, the company clearly would give you that information before you put down millions of dollars, at least to their best guess. But we're just public investors of a public company. And we don't have access to that MNPI information. I don't. Nobody does. I don't know when they're going to have revenue. So that is a risk. That's a risk I need to factor into how much I invest in this company and to level set my expectations. And that's why you guys don't hear me talking about dates. I don't know. Once they go to market, there's kind of a corollary risk, product rollout, which goes to adoption risk. Even if they go to market and have revenue, how big is that revenue going to be? How widely adopted or widely accepted is the product going to be relative to the competitors? That is also an unknown. Now, we've talked many times, and other people have as well, about the competitors to Railtown, but they have a slightly differentiated product. So I think there is a little bit of a moat there. But look, there's hyperscalers, 100 plus, 200 plus around the globe already running that have AI built into them. They're working, right? It's not like Railtown it's not like every hyperscaler out there is waiting on Railtown. There are functional hyperscalers and functional companies using AI without Railtown. So they need to hurry up and get their product out there. And hopefully it's differentiated enough that it starts getting the snowball going down the hill of customer adoption. Their real angle, as they have laid it out for now, is a sovereign Canadian AI play. Now, could they go broader than Canada? Sure, they could. Maybe they will. If you look on the presentation, I just penciled it in. Maybe next year, maybe 2028. But for right now, I'm viewing it as a sovereign AI play. Every country wants to have their data protected from the United States, for example. And so with a Canadian sovereign AI play, you've got TELUS, the hyperscaler, in Canada. The data is sitting in Canada. The AI company, Railtown, is sitting in Canada. And for Canadian institutions, government agencies, or small or medium enterprises that are in Canada or even outside of Canada, everything could be kept within the Canadian ecosystem. Now, the product is set up to be agnostic. It doesn't care if you're in TELUS. It doesn't care if you're in a Amazon hyperscaler. It doesn't care what country you're in. It doesn't care about much of anything. They've really done the good development work. But for me right now, until they tell us otherwise, I'm viewing it as a Canadian AI sovereign play as kind of the moat. And then, obviously we'd like to see wider adoption, but that's going to take some customer testimonials. All right. Any questions on the risk? I know a lot of people get really mad when I tag everything speculative. Why do I do that? Because I don't have any info that you don't have. I don't know a date. I don't know a revenue number. We'll find out when we find out. While we're waiting on some questions, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. In terms of, I talked to Corey today for an hour. They have a lot of work going on. Just because it is quiet, if you think that nothing is happening, I would tell you I don't agree. I don't agree that nothing is happening. What he showed me today in the product demo was evidence of a massive amount of software engineering work. And I can't say much more than that. But I can tell you the scope of the stuff it's not just, first of all, it's probably might not even be anything that anyone else is working on. And so that is exciting. And it is a hell of an amount of work. So I get it. It's quiet. You're wondering what's going on. Maybe you're anxious. Maybe you're upset. I would submit to you one thought. Why are you anxious or upset? Who gave you a date to be anxious about? Not management. Not Tony the Denaro. Maybe elsewhere on YouTube, you were given date after date after date after date, the continual moving of goalposts. I find that type of behavior abhorrent. I find it disgusting. I find it gets investors very anxious and upset, even makes them walk away from the trade because people are making up dates to have something to talk about. And then investors, their viewers, get mad when those dates don't happen. The company is not giving you any dates. So you need to reel it back in, keep those emotions in check, and ask yourself, why am I mad? I'm not mad about anything. They haven't given me any date to be mad about. I recognize that this is a speculative trade because I don't know any dates. That's all it is. I have faith that they're working on something, and we will see if they get it out in time to be relevant and how well the market adopts it. We will see. That's the bet. It's very speculative. Starla says, what can you tell me about the Railtown product demo? So I thought, Starla, that I've been talking to Corey for months about breaking away some time to do product demos. And I'll tell you this, first of all, we're scheduling another 1-hour meeting next week to continue what we ran out of time talking about today, which is more product demo stuff. So there will be a fourth meeting between me and Corey next week, probably on Friday. Today, what he showed me, he asked me not to share any specifics. It's not that it's MNPI, but it's just stuff they don't want talked about in public today. But I can tell you this much, from the amount of engineering work, software engineering side, that I saw in the 30 minutes we talked about product demo today, it is a massive amount of work. And I think you'd be foolish to think that nothing is happening. Now, I can't guarantee that, as I said, I can't guarantee that turns into a product that will be adopted by the market, but I can tell that it is a massive amount of work. And just a reminder, my background, corporate life, eons ago, I was 15 years engineering manager in the tech sector. I understand product development. I was not on the software side. I had software people on my team. I interacted with them. I was on the hardware side. But I know when somebody's bullshitting product development and when actual work is being done. So work is being done. A lot of it, we still got to have, go to market, and we got to have product adoption. So that's the bet. And that's what I can tell you about the product demo. I saw a lot of good stuff today, and we have another meeting scheduled for next week. If I can tell you more next week, then we'll have another one of these lives. Anya says, do you know if Railtown is in a quiet period preventing institutions from buying? Great question, Anya. And someone actually asked me that on Stock Twits last night. And I'm sure the Discord has asked me about it many times over the past few months. I'm not sure where you guys are getting the idea that Railtown is in a quiet period. However, I'll tell you this. I asked Corey about that question today, and here's what I'm going to tell you. They're not in a quiet period. I asked him, Corey, how do you define a quiet period? He said, a quiet period for us is if we have MNPI. First of all, we want to get it to market and announce it as quickly as possible. But if there are a few days where we have MNPI, we will do a company-wide notification that nobody at the company can trade the stock until the news is public. And I said, Corey, what about institutions? Why aren't they buying your stock? They're all under a quiet period, right, Corey? No one is allowed to buy. And no. That's a story that you're told on social media. That is not the situation. First of all, if you're talking about an investment bank, their investment bank is Canaccord. And if you know anything, maybe you're not familiar with this stuff. If you're dealing with an investment bank that has a broker side, it's two sides of the house. Even if the investment banker side of the house is working with Railtown on something, they are not allowed by regulation to talk with the broker side of the house, the people that are doing the buying and selling. There are SEC regulations. It's called an ethical wall or Chinese wall. It's a very severe penalty if you're caught violating that Chinese wall. I don't know why they call it a Chinese wall. It has nothing to do with China or Chinese stocks. Now, people will tell you, oh, but Tony, they violate that all the time. They just break the rules. Okay, look, I'm not here to coddle your conspiracy theories. I'm telling you what the regs are. These institutional banks / brokers, those two sides of the house are not allowed to talk to each other. So this notion that nobody can buy because they're all read in on MNPI is just, it's a story that someone tells to pacify you why things are quiet. And not the company. talking about people on social media. It is not true. Any other questions? Product demo. We said we were going to talk about that. We talked about that. Quiet period. If you have questions about product demo or quiet period, let me know. Go to market. I think I started out with that, the slide you have on your screen. Railtown, go to that upper screen up there. Railtown closed today at just under 24 cents. I tried to buy a little bit in the last 10 minutes of the day, but my order did not go through. I'm still trying to beat Anya with a 22-cent entry while we're waiting things out, but my order for 22 cents did not go through. Anya says, does Railtown have anyone promoting them? Thank you for that question, Anya. They just hired a marketing firm. That was a press release on the 9th, I think it was. In the past week or so, they have hired a marketing firm and allocated $500,000, probably Canadian, I'm assuming, 500,000 Canadian to market the company, its products, create a marketing funnel to get customers intrigued about AI, and funnel those leads into a discussion with Railtown. And then that converts into a consulting contract where Railtown gets paid to help the customer assess their needs. And then if they want to move forward, they go into the data ingestion portion using one of Railtown's products, Rail Engine. Then they can move forward again. We got this whole flywheel that we talked about a week or so ago. So there are multiple touch points, multiple revenue points for consulting and ongoing revenue from consulting. There are multiple touch points for the Railtown products to be utilized through. That's the whole point, right? Consult, implement, consult, ingest, consult, implement, consult, monitor. And then hopefully you got a lifetime customer there that you're charging for monitoring. And then in addition, if Railtown can move, again, the customer can have their data anywhere. But if the customer says, we don't care where the data is, Railtown's going to, guess what? They're going to move it to a hyperscaler like TELUS, where they have a sweet revenue share built up. And that's one more revenue point for Railtown, where they get the spread on the compute time. So the flywheel is set. The marketing plan is set. This marketing plan is scheduled to go through the remainder of this year. I think you should listen carefully to what I just said. The marketing plan is scheduled to go through the remainder of this year. That's about the closest I can come from the company documents, company press releases, to thinking about some dates. They're just spinning up into a real focused marketing plan. So what am I expecting for the rest of this year? Not a lot. Maybe something. Maybe there's already some large institutions or government agencies they're working with. I don't know. There's a lot of things that need to happen. The TELUS facility needs to be up and running. It needs to be qualified. It needs to have all the security protocols, all the security sign-offs. They probably need to have data redundancy, possibly at a second TELUS facility. If you're really wanting a big government agency, they're not going to go into a facility that only has one location. What if that location goes down? Then what? They're screwed. So because the fact that TELUS only has one location, I think you should be thinking about that too. When is the next facility come on? Can I wait? If revenue is dependent on that, I don't know if it is or not, but I'm just saying, if it is, can I wait for that? A lot of moving parts here to think about. Starla says, I'm curious why their Form 7 is late compared to previous months. I know you said they don't usually say much. I'm curious as well, Starla. I don't know. all the months that I've been monitoring it, they have been late one time. And I called investor relations. And I said, hey, what's up? Why is it late? And then a day or two later, it was published. So I don't know. I mean, it could be that they're busy, but it is delinquent as far as I know. Form 7 is a monthly report that companies that are listed in Canada on the CSE must file. It's a general business update. I've never really seen one with any, oh my gosh, breaking news. Breaking news is going to come in a press release the way you would expect it, right? If it's breaking news, they want the hoopla. They want the newswire to pick it up. I don't think we're going to hear any secret information in a Form 7. Now, I could be wrong, but that is my presumption. When they have news, we will hear about it in a press release. And if you haven't heard me talk about this before, in a previous one of the previous couple conversations that I had with Corey, and he mentioned it again today about news. He said, Tony, you know how last year we did MOUs just to let people know stuff was progressing, that we're actually doing stuff. He said, we're not doing MOUs anymore. Because why? Because then if you drop the MOU and then time goes by, people get anxious. People start creating dates and putting them out there, and then they get mad when their self-created date doesn't happen. He said, we're not doing MOUs. Doesn't mean that we're not doing anything, but we're going to wait until we have news with a contract and, you know, some numbers we can tell you guys about, and that's when we'll drop the press. So don't expect any more MOUs from what he's told me. We're waiting on real press releases. I log in every morning and check for the Form 7 around, you know, the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th of the month. And I check after hours. I have not checked today after hours. But yeah, it was delinquent still as of this morning. Am I worried about it? No. Am I expecting there's going to be any great hidden info in there for us? I'm not either. Anya says, did you talk at all about what the Canadian government is doing to promote AI? I have not talked with him recently about that, Anya, maybe a couple months ago. And I said that I would make a video for you guys to kind of summarize it, because it would be good to do a refresher. But here's what I know. The Canadian government is heavily incentivizing AI investment through money and tax benefits. Hang on one second, my wife's texting me. I asked her to pick up something from the store on her way home. So I will try and get a recap, Anya, of the latest updates on the Canadian government pushing AI in Canada. But that is one more thing if you want to have something bullish to think about, besides the management team, besides the advisory board, besides the BlackBerry investors, besides the unique prospects of the product and the level of engineering work that's going into it, to know that the Canadian government is pushing this whole AI ecosystem. They realize that Canada as a whole is behind the 8 ball in AI adoption, and the government is pushing the ball. So I think that would be a great video for me to do whenever I have time in the next week or so. Other questions? Should we do some TA for a second? I know some of y'all love TA, some of y'all hate it. When I'm looking at a stock, I by the way, on Stock Twits in the Discord, I posted a couple tweets from a year ago from old Tony the Denaro, because I heard people were telling you guys that I told you a year ago, don't buy don't buy Railtown. The fact of the matter is, when Railtown was around 39 cents, I think that's the first time I really tweeted about it. It was bumping up against a supply zone. June. It was bumping up a supply zone. It was basically right about here. And I said in that tweet, you can go find the, I put the tweets on Stock Twits and in the Discord. I said that if it breaks through this level here in June, that you could have a run up. And lo and behold, a couple days later, it nearly doubled in price. And then in July, as it was topping out here, because I look at fundamentals, but I also look at the chart and TA. As it was topping out, I tweeted, there is looking like there's a supply zone forming right here. And if it can't push through that supply zone, it is likely to reject. And you ought to keep that in mind. That is not me saying don't buy. I called a bullish trade here, right, in June. Up here in July, I said, looks like it's toppy. Keep that in mind. And yeah, it did top out right after I tweeted and dropped all the way down to 22 cents. So I don't give buy or sell advice in any ticker. I don't want that responsibility. I'm not going to tell you buy, sell, sell, sell. I don't want to shuffle you from one ticker to another. I really don't care what you do. I'm talking to you about what I'm doing, and you should follow your own plan, not what I'm doing, but I'm here to answer questions. Always have your own plan that is in line with your due diligence, your understanding of the trade, and your risk tolerance. Getting into the more current TA, we've been trapped now since November, just bouncing back and forth between this supply zone around 37 cents and the demand zone that is bottoming out around 22 cents. I like to buy whenever it's in the demand zone. If it were to break under this, that would be a red flag for me. I'd need to evaluate what's going on. Is it a market condition? Is it something with AI? Is there bad news for the company? Or is it just there's not enough buyers and the market makers are moving it to the point of next liquidity? But, we don't have to worry about that because we haven't dropped below 22 cents. But if it does, we'll talk about that. And as long as it's in this demand zone, I've kind of, at this point, my last buy was on June 25th. I'm kind of at the maximum allocation I want for Railtown. But if it were to drop to 22 cents, I'd probably add a little bit. I got these handful of shares from over here that I'd like to continue to average down a little bit. So when we get revenue numbers, depending on what the revenue is and when it is, then maybe you get a re-rating up, because once we have revenue, we can estimate maybe earnings. Maybe they'll tell us earnings. But even if we just know revenue, we can do some kind of forecast on the price of the stock. It'd be cool with me if it's higher than 37 cents, right? Would I like to see $1, $2? Sure, I would. I can't tell you what it's going to go to without seeing a revenue number. I feel pretty safe down here, but I know nothing is ever safe till you have revenue. Anya says, I think the problem is nobody knows about Railtown. That is another great question, Anya. I said that on Stock Twits last night when someone asked me, is the company in a quiet period? No, they are not in a quiet period. However, to your point, Anya, this is a micro cap pre-revenue company with trading, under $1, under $5. And it is not really on any institution's radar right now. And you're exactly right. Nobody knows about it for those reasons. And any institution that is going to look at this, they're going to want to know what is the revenue. And if there's no revenue, the majority of them are just going to pass it by. You'd need a speculative specialty shop to be investing in a company like Railtown. Someone that is willing to gamble a little bit of money on a pre-revenue company. That is not your typical institutional trader. Do specialty shops exist out there? Sure. But if you're wanting massive market adoption, massive volume, the company's going to need to post some sustainable revenue, recurring revenue, and or some projections of revenue that the market believes. And I just say believes because I'm assuming if management says it, the market's going to believe it. But the market's always going to do what the market does. So what I'd like to see is here's our revenue at the end of a quarter. Surprise, here's our revenue. And here's our projection for the next 12 months. That's what I would like to see. Is that how it's all going to play out? I don't know. What's going to happen with the price? Until that happens, I'm probably going to be stuck in this zone. So for me, it's, look, I've been telling you guys for a year, have the level of patience to wait this thing out 2 years. Some of y'all recall that I said that, right? Have the mindset of a 2-year investor. Now, people that don't like me lie and change that story to Tony said, don't buy the stock for 2 years. That is not what I said. I said, I want you to have the level of patience of an investor who's willing to wait it out for 2 years. Not because I want you to jump into this stock and sit for 2 years. I'm just saying, if you chose to invest, if you can tell yourself 2 years, you just got to be zen, then you're at least in the right frame of mind to not be emotional about it. Will it work out after 2 years? I don't know. But I'm not emotional, I'm not upset, I'm not anxious if it takes 2 years. Because I know in my mind and talking with the company and doing my own work that they have a sound idea, they have a minimum viable product, they have a quality team, and they have strategic relationships. We're at the final stage. That is the remaining risk. That risk exists. I can't do anything about that other than, look, I like, it's cheaper for me than a trip to Vegas and blowing a couple thousand on the craps tables. You know what I mean? Anya says, one YouTuber is saying it's going to the moon by September. How the heck would he even know that? Look, Anya, a lot of people create stories. It is fiction. It's wishful thinking. There is no date communicated by management. Not by Railtown, not by TELUS, not by an analyst, not by anybody. Therefore, anyone who's giving you a date is literally making it up. They've probably made up a string of dates over the last few years and had to move the goalpost over and over. And I find that very despicable behavior. I don't like it. And when I see a company, especially if it's a company I like Railtown, that people are putting out this kind of promoter, coverage, giving you dates and price targets, I'm going to cover the stock because they're not being intellectually or financially honest with folks. They're making stuff up. And when it doesn't happen, let's pick a new date. Let's figure out a reason why that didn't happen. What can I say? That's a quiet period. Come on. We got to be better than this, ladies and gentlemen. The reason... never mind. Never mind. You know where I'm going with that. Mr. Premium of the Option says, how about AMC Wind Moon? I'm just swing trading AMC, Mr. Premium. I was out of the trade for almost 2 years. I know a lot of people think that because I cover the stock, I've owned the stock. I have not owned the stock for almost 2 years for many reasons that I disclosed over the last 2 years. We got back in at the end of March when all of those reasons fell by the wayside, as I told you they would. And I told you when those reasons went away, I'd buy the stock. That happened to be end of March, and the price was under $1, and that's when we got back into the swing trade rhythm. So I'm on swing trade number 2 of the stock. We already locked in 100% trade in, out. I went in options for June and July, already took profits on those, 400%, 700%, about a 2-week hold. Why does Tony cover AMC? Can you get 400 and 700% by doing your DD in 2 weeks? If you can't, then you probably don't understand why I've followed the stock, because I was waiting for timing to make those trades. And when the timing came, I took the trade, and then I took the profits. We got back in the stock in mid-May, I think, for swing number 2. I bought August and September calls because I was out of the June and July's. I already sold the August this week as it hit 214. When was that? Yesterday or Wednesday? So all I have left, I have shares that are free now. Thank you, Options Market, for paying for all my shares and paying the light bill this month. You know what I mean? All those profits are locked in. I have all my shares, 0 cost basis effectively. And I have September $1.50 calls. When is it going to the moon? I'm not trading the stock as a short squeeze stock. The short interest is about 6% on AMC. Now, I know there are a lot of people that are hoping for a short squeeze. That is not my channel. The promoters of the ticker hate me as much as the promoters of Railtown or GME or any other stock hate me for being a rational, non-emotional, look at the financials and filings guy. Promoters always don't like someone like me because I'm not buying into their hype. I'm not buying into their conspiracy narratives. We tried that in 2021. I made a little bit of money on AMC in 2021, and then we tried to hold on to GME and AMC, and you saw that it didn't work out, so we had to change up the plan, and we changed up the plan years ago. Swing trade, fundamentals, financials, understand the filings, understand management motivations. They don't give a shit about you. They're trying to save their company or grow their company. In the case of AMC or GameStop, save, grow. You need to think. I'm going to make a t-shirt. Think like a CFO. Stop thinking like a social media person. I have years now of experience to tell you your outcomes will be far more optimal. But Tony, what if you're going to wake up and it's going to be going to the moon? I have alerts set. If I really think it's getting close by reading the chart and the volume and the indicators that I look at and whatever's going on, or when Kitty starts tweeting, I'll increase what I have at risk. I have not missed any run up on any of these trades yet. I'm not going to miss the next one. Now, maybe I missed the first couple dollars move, but like GameStop, if I got in at 20 and it ran the next day to 60, do you think I was okay with that? Of course I was okay. AMC, back in 2023 when it was trading at a couple bucks or whatever, and it ran up to $10, I made 1,000% on call options. I don't normally carry options on AMC, but I saw what was building, bought some call options, made 1,000% on that trade in a couple days. So I don't care about Moon. I don't care about short interest. That's not my channel. In fact, I almost booted someone from the Discord yesterday for being too moonish. It's distraction. It is a distraction. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it if the reported short interest is under 20%. And then the promoters, once it's under 20%. Well, but Tony, didn't you see the short volume? The short volume, look how high it is. And if you add that up for the past 5 years, that's 3 trillion shares, Tony. Come on. These people are foolish. It's a diversionary tactic to lie to you. They don't understand what they're talking about. Anyone who's promoting short volume automatically ought to be laughed out of the room, in my opinion. And I know they do it in Railtown and Finger and GNS and all. Ought to be laughed out of the room. Anya says, seriously, AMC paid your electric bill. That's the first thing that came to mind, Anya. Probably because I just paid the electric bill, but no. My electric bill is not, my electric bill is cheap relative to that. Anya says, I have to say, you don't get that excited about that many tickers at this price, and the Discord Railtown is one of the few. I don't want anybody to mistake me talking frequently about Railtown as excitement. Now, I know that sounds weird, right? You're long the stock. You've been long the stock for a year. You've been accumulating heavy for the last 7 months. Why are you not excited? I don't get emotional about stocks. Period. End of story. Now, if we make 100, 200, 1,000% on this stock, might I get a little bit excited? Yeah, I might then. We might pop a beer together and celebrate. You celebrate, you get emotional after you've locked in your gains. You don't get excited early. That's like going to the races and betting on a horse, and you're all excited that you got a ticket in your hand. But what did that ticket give you? Nothing. It's potential. So I'm talking about Railtown because, look, in my opinion, for people that like the AI sector, this is one of the few inexpensive tickers you can invest in. There are competitors, but they're all owned by private equity. And what else? You can purchase an AI play, but it is speculative. So it's because it's AI and not everybody believes in AI, it's not going to be for everybody. I'm not trying to push it on people. And certainly because of the high level of risk of a pre-revenue company, I'm not trying to push it on people. But maybe I put it on your radar and you do a little work. I've got 1 year of videos, one a month or so, where you can see my progression through the due diligence. I went from being skeptical to, this is actually looking pretty good. And then, once I got engaged talking with the company on a regular basis, thank you again to the investor relations team and the management team for seeing the value and the coverage that we provide on this channel and being willing to have regular ongoing conversations. As I talked with them and got to understand the work they're doing in the background, I believe that they are working on something. I just can't tell you when. And I'm hanging out there in the wind just like you guys. If it doesn't work out, we're all going to lose. If it works out, then maybe we make some money. I think for me, the risk to reward ratio having a cost basis under 30 cents is acceptable. And I manage that by managing the size of my position. If you are just joining in, I do not think you should have all of your money in one ticker, no matter what the ticker is. You should have a diversified portfolio. of profitable companies with growing revenue, growing net income, positive free cash flow. If you don't have all three of those things, then you're probably dealing with a speculative trade. If all you have is a basket of speculative trades, recognize it for what it is and either fix it or say, that's what I want. That's what I want, and I'm good with it. And I'm never going to complain to anybody if all of these tickers don't work out, because I knew they were speculative. I made the bet, and all I need is one of the 10 to work. If you can manage that, then more power to you. I have bets in several speculative tickers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying avoid speculative tickers, but I will never blame management of any company. They're doing their jobs. I'll never blame the SEC. I will never blame a judge. I'll never blame FINRA. They're all doing their jobs. If it goes haywire, it's because I fucked up. I missed something in the DD, or I made some bad assumptions, or I listened to somebody who put a date and a price target in my head that was not backed up by any evidence. Dan Trend says AMC will announce earnings pre-market on Monday. Yeah, kind of exciting news that AMC moved up their earnings from August. It was going to be maybe like August 6th. They moved it up to Monday morning pre-market. Why? I don't know why. In the Discord, I've floated 4 or 5 reasons, because I try and think unemotionally: good, neutral, bad. What are all of the possible reasons? And maybe it's none of those. Maybe it's just random. However, we float the ideas so everybody at least can say, well, Tony told me it was going to be one of these. He doesn't know which one, but I thought it was only because Monday was Moon Day, and Tony just gave me 4 other reasons why AMC might have had a corporate governance or, capital markets reason to make that decision. Now that I see there are other reasons besides Monday is International Moon Day, maybe that gives me something to think about as we wind down the trading week. I have no idea. But I do think about all possibilities. And then I put them out there on the Discord, and we have discussion, and someone came up with a 5th reason. So that is why I like the Discord. It is free, by the way. Link is in most video descriptions. I don't know if it's in this one. There are paid options if you choose to support the content on this channel. Look, I make about $4 for a live stream like this. I'm not doing this for the money. I already have my corporate career. I'm doing this because I'm sitting here trading every day, 8, 10, 12 hours. I was up at 5 a.m. this morning. I'm still here at 7 p.m. at night. I've had 0 breaks. I'm sitting here anyways, and I see people lying to you guys, not understanding market mechanics, conspiracy theories at the yin yang, and it pisses me off. And God damn it, I'll take that $4 to give you another side of the coin to think about, the rational one. I did not ever work on Wall Street. I'm not a CPA. My degree is in economics. My minor was in finance and banking. My work career was in technical and engineering. Go figure. So I have a pretty wide, and I'm studying for the Series 65 right now, just for fun. So that's me. We'd love to have you in the Discord as a free member, or if you want to support the channel, that's always an option. No pressure. Thank you guys. Have a blessed Friday evening. Hope you got some value out of this. There'll be more videos, more live streams this weekend. Go see The Odyssey or Evil Dead Burn, Toy Story, Moana. A lot of good movies out this weekend. Odyssey is next on my list. And if you haven't seen Young Washington and it's still available in your area, a fine film. If you don't know, I like movies. I own multiple tickers in the entertainment sector. Most of them are profitable companies with growing revenue and positive free cash flow. And we are up bigly on those trades. I have no problem recommending profitable tickers to you. Cinemark, IMAX, MCS. Might be too late to buy them now. We were buying them last year on the dip. But, and I don't know. I don't know how long I'll be in AMC. Let's see what happens on Monday. Right now, I'm still riding my free shares and my September calls. So we'll see. Thank you. Have a blessed weekend. We love you guys. Scarlett says hello. Colt says hello. He's taking a nap right now. The little boy, our little 3-month-old, 3.5 now, he got both of his bottom 2 teeth in the past week. So we've been dealing with that. But other than that, he's an absolute dream. Couldn't ask for a better baby. My 3rd son, very proud. Proud of my 2 older boys. Proud and happy to have the new son, and my wife especially is overjoyed. So, guys, thank you. It's been fun hanging out with you. I don't work for the shorts. Shorts can go F themselves. Have a blessed weekend.